Hey, welcome back here to the Central PA Pour, and Mr. Kevin is in the house again.
Howdy, how's everybody doing?
And Mr. Dave's back with us.
Here we go.
And I am Bret. So, hey, let us know what you're drinking out there. I'm drinking a Dunkel from One Black Mutt, who we had on here recently, Chuck Jennings. So, it's pretty good. What do you got there, Dave?
I got a lager, short shorts.
Oh, yeah, black lager. And you got?
I've got an ale. I can't remember who it was from, but I got an ale.
We got beer. And
Yeah,
we're all in our Central PA Pour glasses. So if you want that, check us out on our link tree at the merchandise store, or give us a like, subscribe, wherever you get your podcasts.
I'd turn mine around.
How'd you turn yours around?
Yeah,
At Central PA Pour.
Let's change it up. Let's start with a cheer.
Cheers?
Cheers.
All right, yeah. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Well, we'll change it up a little bit. Cheers to you guys out there. And like I said, give us a like and subscribe. We're having fun doing this.
It's pretty good.
Oh, it is pretty good. Mm-hmm. So what's been going on?
Weather's good. I like the weather.
Weather's been good as we're recording this. We're getting into the fall. We're getting into some Oktoberfest.
We are.
By the way, speaking of Oktoberfest, aren't you going to Germany soon?
I am. Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You're going to get to experience. Hopefully get to experience you've been already over there for that, right?
A couple of times, yeah.
You fuck shit.
Yeah. I understand they have a picture up at the doors with him. Don't let him in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They probably do, actually.
Yeah.
So make sure you get out there and look out for any Oktoberfest going on here in the local area. I know some of them are popping up with dates and Stein holding competitions. I think we need to look in to see who's going to be doing one.
Yeah. I like it. Well, besides your Oktoberfest.
Yeah. And speaking of Oktoberfest, make sure you stop out there, get your tickets, because we are giving away a cooler supplied to us by DJs at Westgate, and we're going to be filling that with some merch and stuff from local breweries around the area and giving that away live at your Oktoberfest. So you must be present to win it. Get out there, come out and see us, and maybe we'll put you on the air.
Sounds
Swag.
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 Maybe we'll get lucky and get some beer we can put in there too.
Oh, I like that.
If we don't drink it first.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Anyways, we have a very special guest to bring into our studio here. And you may recognize him. You may not if you don't watch TV. But Mr. Lew Bryson, welcome to the Central PA Pour.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be here, guys.
I tell you what, I've watched that show for a while, and I've seen you on there, and I'm like, I kept telling these guys, hey, that's how this little venture of ours started, from that show.
Really? Nice.
I had an idea about what we could do with our home brewing and our beer tasting nights, and then I saw that show. I'm like, we could do this shit. So I told them the first episode, guys, we're going to do this, and I'm going to make you famous.
We're not famous yet.
That was 3 years ago.
Like my kids say, Dad, you're beer famous. You're just beer famous. Okay. All right.
So tell us a little bit about what Mr. Lew Bryson is and does a little bit. Give us a little bit about you.
Sure. My wife is retired. We live in Millheim, Pennsylvania. It's a little town about 21 miles east of State College. Town of about 900. We have a brew pub. We have a winery. We have a butcher shop. We have a really good independent supermarket. I like to say the town punches above its weight. We got a lot of stuff that you wouldn't expect in a town of 900.
That's awesome.
And me, of course. Hey, I'm here.
Hey, we are Penn State.
Yeah, no, I don't do that. I do blue and white, but it's because I went to Franklin and Marshall in Lancaster. That's my blue and white. We put that blue and white F&M banner, and you should see people coming up the street. They're like, ah!
But you're an author, a podcaster. You're Jack.
I just ran upstairs and grabbed copies of the books. So 2 whiskey books. This is the first one, tasting whiskey, and then whiskey masterclass. I'm actually working on a whiskey masterclass is a general thing on where flavor and aroma in whiskey come from. Now I'm working on a American whiskey specific version of that. So just bourbon, rye, corn whiskey, that kind of stuff.
So that's your forte, the whiskey.
Well, honestly, I still drink more beer. I liked writing about beer. There were just more opportunities to write about whiskey, and to be honest, more money to be made.
Yeah, I think it's cool, man. You're an author. I don't think I could write a 4-page book, let alone a book that you can get published. So
number 9.
But, wow. And I'll say it. I know I have the books that are listed right below us. And I will put in the link about where they can find you and
Thank you.
Book, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, and the podcast too, which you guys already
seen through
nicely,
seen through a glass. How'd that come up?
I actually just blamed somebody for that today on Instagram. Jason Euphema at Shy Bear Brewing. People had been talking to me about doing a podcast for a while. A good friend of mine who unfortunately died last year, a guy named Tom, lives out in Kentucky. He was a writer. I used to do some whiskey aroma classes with him. We would teach him. He ran an outfit they called Aroma Academy, and it had have you ever seen those little tasting or the nosing strips of like this is Paris? Yeah. Well, he sold those, and then we talked about them. We wound up in D.C. in the back of a German bar. Maybe 2 years before the pandemic, and we just had a great conversation. We were all over the place. We were talking about drinks. We were talking about history. We were talking about sociology. And he's like, "We should do a podcast and just do this." I'm like, nah. And then I had another guy who's like, "Yeah, we should do about the politics of drinking because you don't like the PLCB and I kind of don't, but I think there's a way to fix it." And I'm like, nah. And then I'm talking to Jason down at Shy Bear, and we're tasting through the taps and all, and he's like, "So tell me, how come nobody writes about us?" I'm like, "What people write about?" And he's like, No. All of us in Central PA. Nobody writes about us. They're writing about the breweries in Philly. They're writing about the breweries in Pittsburgh. Every now and then they say something about New Trail or Trogs, but who's writing about us? And I'm like, this is what I'll do. And then I kind of spread it out to food and cider and covered bridges and maple syrup.
Tell Jason at Shy Bear, I've been to his place twice. It's a freaking phenomenal place. The Bavarian pretzel is to die for.
Oh, I like those stuffed wax peppers. Those things are awesome.
And if he wants to tell his story, we'd be happy to have him on the Central PA Pour.
I know it's right in the name, right?
It is right in our name. Even though when we started, it was the South Central area, the 5 counties in this area. And when we started
I'm getting kind of area creep myself. It's just
we did too.
So much stuff right on the edge, right?
We've done Bethlehem and Philly, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't give a shit who we talk to. I just want to talk and drink beer. That's all.
I wound up in Denver doing an interview. So traveling, and there's something good there. I'm going to do it.
I have seen that.
Beer, I'm drinking a Zeno's Rye IPA from Otto's Pub here in State College.
Okay. Now, do you brew at all? Have you ever tried brewing?
Wow, yeah, I did. I brewed my last batch 2 weeks after my second kid was born.
Okay.
And, kind of gave away all the equipment. I mean, I've brewed on commercial systems. I brewed a beer at Trogs. I helped design it. I actually did really get into the nuts and bolts of a Baltic Porter at Heavyweight Brewing, and then Tom brewed it again at his next place. Victory brewed it. We talked about it. I advised them. I don't want to get carried away with it. And the beer eventually wound up winning the GABF gold medal. So I feel pretty good about that one.
So, Dave, Kevin, we're not famous, but he's kind of.
Yeah, he's getting there.
Beer famous.
Beer famous. Okay.
Although I do want to bring this up. Today is Jimmy Russell Day. Jimmy Russell has been the master distiller at Wild Turkey forever. And just to prove that I'm not exaggerating, Jimmy Russell Day is the anniversary of when he started working at Wild Turkey today marks 70 years.
Oh my God.
70.
He started working at Wild Turkey before I was born. Yeah, he's still there. I mean, his duties are much more ambassadorial. At this point, he's not in there shoveling corn, but yeah, he's still there, and he's still their icon. And I'm drinking Wild Turkey 101 because that's Jimmy's whiskey.
Well, knowing
anyway, that's why I wanted to throw that in.
Knowing that you're a whiskey guy, we do have a Thistle Finch here.
Oh, nice. Lancaster whiskey.
Yep. And then we also have something from Hook and Flask from Carlisle.
Oh, yeah. Carlisle. Yeah.
Now, that's up these two guys' alley. I am not a whiskey bourbon guy, although the David E. from Hidden Stills, I can drink. That's really good stuff.
That stuff is flying under the radar, I swear.
It is.
That's good whiskey. Yeah.
We had Cody on here last season on an episode and let him tell their story of Hidden Stills. So, and have you ever been there?
Yes, I have. I've been to both places now.
The food is phenomenal.
Yes.
Hidden Stills, Hershey. That was out of this world.
Yeah, I did a book signing at the old one in Lebanon.
Okay. See, he's doing book signing.
And ate there.
Yeah, I saw that.
We can't get a fucking advertising.
I actually saw
you gotta have a book to do a book signing. Man, I tell you, every time I do a book, my wife is like, that's the last one, right? That's the last one. And like an idiot, I keep like, okay, I'll do one more. Sure, why not?
I was like, my wife's like, what's that piece of equipment? Don't worry about it.
Right, exactly. And she laid down the law because a couple of times I've had books that are due in December, and it just completely screws up Christmas. We have this big Christmas party we always do, and she's like, no more. I'm like, okay, all right. And the deadline for this book was October 1st, and sadly, my mom died, and I lost like 2 months, and right now my agent's negotiating for a 2-month deadline extension. We'll put it at December 1st. I don't know if my wife's actually realized that yet or not.
Is that why you're relegated to the basement in the bar area?
Oh, no. I came down here because I wanted to come down here. I want to start doing video whiskey reviews down here. I did that for a while and then stopped doing it because it was just, the room I'm in, honestly, the room I'm in upstairs is kind of a storeroom right now because we've been renovating the house, and there's like, some beaten up armchairs and boxes and wrapped up pictures and stuff. I'm like, this room is done. I'm going to do it down here.
Tell us about your new bar.
Let me just, I don't know if I can do that. I can't really. A little bit. Yeah, you can see that. There's the stove in the corner and the stone wall and the bar stools that we drove all the way out to Western Pennsylvania to get. And that's actually the crawl space where the kegs are. I've got the kegs there, and then you can't really see it. Yeah, because of the post. The taps are mounted in the wall. I've got a beer tap and a seltzer tap. And the seltzer tap can also do draft cocktails. We're going to be doing that. Yeah.
I got
only one beer.
Whiskey tasting.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll come up.
I mean, we thought it was going to be. I originally planned this to be like an Edwardian pub, a lot of brass, a lot of like cream-colored walls and wood and all that stuff. And then we saw those stone walls. And I mean, you can't see it, but there's stone walls around 3 walls of the downstairs of the room. And when the contractor and I look at that, I'm like, can we use those? He's like, oh yeah. He says, I don't want to cover them up. All right. And right there, we decided we were going to go for a different look. And I started looking at stuff, and I'm sitting down. Honest, I'm not kidding. My contractor and I sat down and watched a documentary about rural Irish pubs.
I was going to say it almost sounds like an old style pub.
Yeah, so we sat there and watched that. We're taking notes, and he's like, "Do you want that?" I'm like, "No, I don't want that. I want that over there." He's like, "Okay." The guy did an amazing job. The ceiling, you can't see it there. Yeah, there it is. The ceiling is locally milled white pine. It was grown and milled in the next valley over. The windowsills and the stairwell are reclaimed wood from barns and fences in Kentucky and Pennsylvania. The bar behind me, the wood cladding on it, is actually wood salvaged from our old kitchen, because the kitchen dates back to 1860, but we had to tear it down because too much of the wood was rotten. That's the wood he was able to save. And it's a live edge slab, the actual bar, from a place half a mile down the road.
That's awesome.
I'm really proud about the local part. I think that's really
it is. That's
cool. Even the
Holy
reclaimed wood is from a company that does that, again, 2 valleys over in Nittany Valley. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's not very big. I think we can seat maybe 15 people, but and they've got to be friends.
I could seat maybe 6 in mine, and they have to be real good friends.
And Lou, usually Kevin and I are not invited.
We're not.
I said the operative word in that was good friends.
It's true. It's true. Although we had I'm posting about the bar on Facebook as it's being built, and I get this text message from one of the top bar managers in State College, a guy named Dave Staub. He managed Zeno's for over 30 years, the beer bar in State College. And he's like, "I've been watching your Facebook posts. He says, I'd like to attend bar for your soft opening." I'm like, "I didn't even know we were having a soft opening." Yeah, sure, why not? And we wound up, I think we had like 35 people, because they were in the bar, they were sitting out in the porch. It was a beautiful night. And then people just started walking in from like the town. I mean, I knew them, but the good friends thing, the friends thing, like, yeah, come on in. Why not?
That's what happens when you're famous.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you're giving away booze. That's what that is.
Well,
free whiskey? I'm in.
I met you on the Sips and Shenanigans train back in March.
Yeah.
And that's where this connection came from, because we've known Glenn now since we started this venture.
Yeah.
And then, his connection knows you.
Yeah,
and,
we met doing one of the shows, actually, one of the What's Brewing shows.
I kind of rudely interrupted and introduced myself to you and kind of said, "Hey, I'm Bret."
What you got to do.
So, but I think it's great. So what got you to become an author and start down like writing books? How did you do that? Was this what you've always done, or did you have another job prior?
No, I was a librarian. And then after that, I was in IT for a while. Just kind of like on the edge of IT. I did a little bit of tech support. I got into that because the library field at that time was getting more and more computerized. So kind of had to learn it. But then the small pharmaceutical I was working for had one drug in it, the FDA. It was essentially like one of 3 drugs we had, and it got turned down. And they laid off 3/4 of the company that weekend, including me. And I had just sold my first piece, which for $25, a newsletter for the local beer distributor. Because this friend of mine they started doing a newsletter. This friend of mine came in at work, comes in and drops it on my desk. And I'd been sending out, I was home brewing at the time. And I was sending out emails about beer because I was just completely caught up in it. Visiting places, had met Michael Jackson at the GABF and read his books and read Charlie Papazian's books. And I was just all fired up. So my friend comes in and tosses the newsletter on my desk and says, "You can write better than this shit." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. I can write better than this shit." So I ran up a sample and took it over to the place. I'm like, "I could do this for you. $25 an issue." And they're like, Sold. I actually did that for them every other month for 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I got a little bit more money towards the end, but the lucky thing, the second issue I did for them, a guy took it to a friend of his to look at, and the friend of his was John Hansel, who was running Malt Advocate, which became Whiskey Advocate, which became the world's biggest whiskey magazine. And I just got lucky, and he saw that issue, and he's like, "Yeah, we'll give him a try." And I read the first beer article I wrote for him was on dry beer. God help me. Do you remember that? Dry beer?
No.
Yeah, it was before ice beer. Yeah, it's not really memorable, excuse me. But that's what I did, and I kept writing for him, and within 2 years, I was the managing editor, and I did that for 20 years. So
Awesome. See,
yeah,
Dave,
it really was. A lot of it was luck.
There's still a chance we may get lucky.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. I'll tell you what, that got really lucky because in '96, craft brewing took a shit. I mean, it was awful. And John's like, "Well, I really like whiskey. I have a lot of connections in the whiskey world. Why don't we do this? We're going to make this a whiskey magazine, and that means you are going to have to learn to drink whiskey." And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, the hell kind of threat is that? But I have to admit, I mean, at that time, I was like, oh yeah, that's really smooth. So he said to me, and this is so important, I put it in each of the whiskey books I've written. He told me what you have to do is drink it every day. And he didn't mean like, but he said, just sit down and have an ounce every day. And man, I'll tell you, the first couple of weeks, it was just like, because it hurt. It was like fire in your mouth, Yeah. And I started, I think it was on day 22. I had a glass of Delmore 12-year-old. He was feeding me samples, 12-year-old Scotch. And I drank it, and I suddenly tasted orange and fudge. And I'm like, oh. And I was off and running. So
you just mentioned Scotch. When Dave first moved in, so a little background on us. All three of us are neighbors. Kevin lives.
That's convenient.
And Dave lives right next door. So Dave moved in, and he come over. I was doing something outside, and said, "Here, let me bring some Scotch over." And I did that.
So good neighbors.
And it was. You said it was a good Scotch, and I thought it tasted like pure puke. But so,
see, until you drink it every day.
Yeah. Well, so I use Untapped. We all three use Untapped. It's just our. And the one time I was coming home and I'm drinking a beer every day, and my wife said, "Do you got to have a beer every day?" I'm like, "No, but I want one, and I'm going to get a badge for it." Right. Well,
that's a completely valid question. Do I need a beer every day? No. Do I want one? Yeah. Do I need 5 a day? No, and I don't want 5 a day either.
No.
Right? No.
You were mentioning about how
I do.
You tasted, and we had Mason-Dixon Distillery on here. That was our first season. Yanni from Gettysburg.
I don't know.
Mason-Dixon Distillery.
Good place.
It's a good place. It's cool. I'd recommend you make a visit to Gettysburg and go see him. His product is very high proof. It's quality, but it's very, very high proof. So we actually had to record with him twice.
The first time I really got knocked was the first Whiskey Fest in New York in 1998. And the last thing I remember, at 10:15, the guy from Heaven Hill handed me an almost full bottle of 100 proof whiskey. And literally the last thing I remember was him handing me that whiskey. There are pictures of what happened. But the next thing I remember, it was 20 after 5, and I was in my hotel room, fully dressed on the bed with 1 foot off the bed and 1 foot on, 7 blocks away. No idea. No idea. No idea.
That's the best
Sorry.
night.
Sorry. Oh man.
But you know, his first time we recorded was 125 proof rum,
Yeah.
and he told us how to sip it. And we just had with Carmen Pantana from Buy Local told us the same thing. Kind of chew it. He said he called it chewing, but
yeah,
put it in, swish it around, and swallow it, let it breathe, and then take the second sip. And when I did that, it still burnt like hell, but I started to get some of the notes and flavors out of what he was describing it. But yeah, I'd recommend Mason Dixon Distillery for if you want to do something.
Yeah.
The food's great. It's all locally sourced, so it's phenomenal.
It's a great place.
But I think it's cool, man. You're doing this, and what are you drinking there? You got a whiskey and a beer.
It's the Wild Turkey 101. Their standard,
Right.
which is a lot better whiskey than most people give it credit for, because bikers drink it by the shot and just slam it down. It's actually a really good sipping whiskey.
How about we do a sip of whiskey with you here? What do you guys want, the Thistle Finch or the Hook and Flask?
Kevin?
Doesn't matter to me. They both taste good.
Yeah.
Let's do one of each.
One of each.
Is the Thistle Finch a rye?
It is the rye with Cabernet.
It is the rye.
With the Cabernet.
Oh, nice.
So it does have some wine notes to it at the very end.
I really think that works better with rye than with bourbon. People try doing wine finishes on bourbon, and I just don't think it works right.
Well, but
rye. I think rye works pretty well.
We had Arvin, the distiller from Thistle Finch, on, and I think he's putting out some good stuff. And even though I'm not like I said, a big whiskey guy, I'll drink some of this stuff.
Oh, come on. There's only a little bit left.
We'll drink it up. But we're gonna drink one here with you. Kevin's gonna fill up his. There was only a swig left that he called it.
See, my problem is I'm so used to pouring like half an ounce for tasting.
Yeah.
And literally, that's all I'm doing every time. I'm doing that like 6, 7 at a time and working on them and all this. When friends come over, I pour half an ounce in our glasses and they just kind of like,
what the hell?
Really?
I know, and I feel so cheap. I'm just like, crap. And then I suddenly realize I'm like, here, have some more. I'm sorry. It's just what I'm used to anymore.
When you have 35 people showing up for free whiskey, you got to pour half an ounce.
Well, yeah, because sometimes there's this one guy comes in and just slams his shot at 10-year-old Michter.
Oh,
I'm like, and he goes out for another, and Dave pours him one, and he slams it again, and all of a sudden Dave's gone. I'm like, what the shit? I see he's sitting over on the steps. And I went over, and I'm like, dude, is everything okay? He's like, yeah, I'm just making myself unavailable. I'm like, oh, okay, very nice.
Well, here's to what you're doing, Lou. Little whiskey on our end and a whiskey on yours.
Okay.
Cheers
to that.
Cheers.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah. And that's good too.
The rye has a bite, but I do get that, there are some flavors there that I'm getting out of that whiskey. Especially
rye kind of should too.
Yeah, and with the Cabernet Franc, you're going to get some of that grape note in the back, like a wine character out of it because of the barrel.
Yeah.
But
do you know where they're getting the Cab Franc barrels? A local winery, or
he did say?
I think he did tell us. I'd have to go back and listen to the episode.
Just curious.
But reach out to Arvin. I'd recommend Thistle Finch too.
Yeah. I'm actually trying to stay out of Lancaster because.
Did you get banned?
Up a whole bunch of stuff. No. No, there's just so much stuff out here I haven't done. I just did the latest episode I put up was Clarion. I'm trying to get out into the Lancaster's almost too easy,
Right. And we started this as, we called it the Central PA Pour, and how we kind of came up with that is like the old, what was that Salt and Pepper song? Down with the OPP. And I went with CPP, Central PA Pour.
Ah, okay. All right.
And we decided, okay, we're just going to keep it to the South Central, York, Adams, Lancaster, Dauphin. And one of our friends from Westgate's like, well, because at first it was just us four. Kevin's son was involved in this. And we were doing featuring the local beers before we got guests on. And he's like,
sure.
Well, why are you just limiting yourself? And I understood why, because if we had to find beer to feature for a brewery and they don't distribute, we had to go get it.
Yeah.
But there's so many people out there because of the explosion and the peak that happened here in Pennsylvania with the craft brew scene. Right. We've touched everybody in mostly York County, but outside of York, we have yet to touch anybody. I mean, we've gotten some from Lancaster, Gettysburg and stuff, but there are so many people out there that, when one closes, there's more popping up or expanding. And some just don't want to actually do it. I'm like, okay. One of the ones
I don't get that either, but
yeah, I don't either. We're just here to tell the story. Yeah, we're not famous or, we don't have 10,000 freaking subscribers, but let us tell your story.
Yeah.
And let us drink your beer. That's the big part of it. Let us have the beer.
I mean, happily, my reputation usually gets me into the brewery, but the food places, I'm like, all I want to do is give you some free publicity. And they're like, I don't know.
Yeah. Wow. Now, you're not with your podcast. You don't film it. It's just an audio platform now.
It's strictly audio. Yeah. I mean, come on. Look at his face.
Well, we have the face for radio too.
Yeah.
I mean, on the other hand, I've done voiceover. They let me do the audiobook for Whiskey Masterclass. I sang for 30 years. I mean, I've got a good voice, but no.
So what I was getting at, when you're just doing an audio platform, do you get that you're in the headlight look because they got a headphone and microphone in front of them? Because when we bring them in studio with the camera, they are like,
oh yeah.
And I mean,
there have been a couple, but most of them. See, the thing is, a lot of times I'm dealing with the owners of the business, and owners are much more extroverted than brewers.
Right.
Yeah. And then you get somebody. Oh my God, this is embarrassing. I can't remember the guy's name at New Trail. Mike. Can't remember his last name. Oh God, that's embarrassing. But Mike was like, he's a celebrity brewer. He's been around. He worked at Tired Hands. He worked at Treehouse. I mean,
Treehouse. We've heard so much about that.
So he's used to this, right? So he was completely at ease in front of the mic. God, there were some other people. Guy out at Liberty Pole, Jim Huff at Liberty Pole Distilling out in Washington, PA. I mean, Jim was completely. I mean, he was polished. It was like he was reading from notes, but he had none.
Right.
I think he did. I think he came from industry. I suspect he probably did presentations. I mean, I know my wife is the same way. She worked in the pharmaceutical industry for years and always got that on her performance appraisals that she did so well at presentations.
Yeah,
I've had her on the podcast twice, and she's just smooth.
It takes a special person to do it because not everybody can stand or be in front of people that they either be recorded or talk.
Right.
I have for Gab, as you can see.
That's not what I called it, but go ahead.
But we've had people down here in the studio when we changed our platform to instead of traveling to their place because that was just a nightmare of scheduling to get that organized. But they'll come down here with that. And I'm like, look, this is just a conversation. Don't worry about the mic. Don't worry about the cameras. We're just going to converse. And after 15 minutes, you can see that go away and then it starts flowing.
Yeah.
And we tell them, look, don't worry about the fuck bomb or anything like that because I'm the first one to let it fly.
I've always told people that the only person to ever really let it fly was Al at Pizza Boy. Oh my God, did he let it fly?
And that was a more recent episode, wasn't it? Or was that
that was only like 4 episodes ago.
Because
the thing is, but it gets rebroadcast on our local radio station, so I had to go through the whole thing and bleep them out. I'd never had to bleep before. Happily, it was pretty easy. I didn't even know how to do it. I had to look it up.
You're going to bleep this out if you need to use this audio platform for your.
Oh shit!
So, how did you get into the What's Brewing TV show out of Montgomery County?
Yeah.
I actually, I lived down in Bucks for like 30 years. So I was in the Philadelphia beer writing scene. And I was in pretty early. I started writing in 1994, right about the time Don Russell, Joe Sixpack, the original co-host, was also doing it. I think he started about a year after I did. And they had me on the show, way early. They were still working out of a really just banged together studio over in New Jersey. And Don and I had been friends for years. We hung out with the same people. And when he and his wife retired and moved to France, who does that? Who the hell does that?
I was wondering the same thing until
God.
We're
it doesn't even come to mind. We're going to retire and move to France. I thought we were nuts for retiring and moving to Milheim. Anyway, so apparently I was at the top of Don's list for replacements.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was hard, because the least I've ever had to drive was 2 hours to get to the episode. Sometimes it's a little over 3. So I don't do any of the episodes in Jersey. He don't even bother asking. But the nice thing is, with him working for WIP all those years, he can just get another professional from there. They know their way around a mic. They don't deer in the headlights shit. They just keep pattern. But like he said, they don't really know as much about beer as I do.
Well, lately it's Andrew from Conshohocken coming on as well.
Yeah. Well, he's an investor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why we had our season wrap at Conchi last year.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. I left that thing on, and the tape stops, and Glenn turns to me. He's like, "You're finally getting this. This is good."
So I watched that episode, and I remember they did their pub ale. So I got a Hidalgo best bidder.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
And we got Whopper Juniors.
Fast food pairing. That was awesome. I still remember we were planning that episode, and Glenn's like, "So what beer goes with chicken McNuggets?" I'm Glenn. You asking the wrong question. What
So
beer
to
goes with
me-
each sauce. That's what you gotta.
To me, beer goes with everything. I don't really give a shit about what beer I'm going to drink with what food. But Dave wants to do some beer pairings with food.
Right.
So in relation to what your season finale wrap up was, we're going to sample a Whopper and see if you guys were right with the caramelization and stuff. Now,
And if your Whopper is not fresh and hot, neither was ours. So
that's what I was just getting ready to say.
yeah,
I picked it up on the way home.
Last week.
that's about right.
All right, so guys, let's see what if the maltiness of the beer will match the caramelization of the Whopper.
Oh, okay. Really?
I guess I should grab some fucking napkins.
That would have been a thought.
Apparently. Now, people will watch the show just to watch you licking yourself.
You know what?
That's pretty good.
That does pretty good, man.
That is a nice match.
It is a nice match.
Yeah, actually, I think bitter is an underrated food beer.
So I love bitters.
Yeah.
one of our earliest episodes, we talked about like ESBs are not very popular. Because nobody's going
to have an ongoing struggle with our local brewer to make one.
So I brewed one. I did a home brew because we home brew. And when it was done, I paired it with a Forest and Maine. I paired. I compared my homebrew ESB to theirs, and profile, color, everything was the same. Now theirs was a little bit more clear than mine because I did it on my little 5-gallon brewery, but I was spot on with the flavor profile. I love the ESB style. I love the old English style beers.
Yep. The yeast is so important. The malt's so important.
Yeah, on my way home today, I'm stopping by Burger King to get a Whopper and a fucking Crown hat.
Did you have to ask for that?
They got them sitting on the tables.
Oh. Did they really? You can just grab one. Nice. Yeah.
They probably wondered why a grown man was ordering 2 Whopper Juniors and walking out with a Crown.
Yeah, well, as long as you don't have a white van, you're probably okay.
Right.
No, that is a pretty good pairing. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Interesting.
I have this thing that I've been wanting to do for years, and I can't talk anybody into doing it. I want to do a beer dinner where all the pairings don't work.
Where they don't work.
They don't work.
They don't work. Yeah. So, God, I don't know, like a really hoppy IPA with like a coconut cake, which would suck. I can tell you it sucks because I've tried that. Yeah. Well, you do a lot of things, but obviously nobody wants to do it because nobody wants to serve a meal that people will hate.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, my thought.
We did do something. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm interrupting like crazy here. I apologize.
Okay, he doesn't. Anyway,
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, my thoughts were. Now I forgot. My thoughts on the pairings is that we were just going to have the different organizations like the different tap rooms, and then they would put their best food with their best beer, and then they would do it on camera, and then we would have some volunteers come in and taste it, and then we would do a contest. But what would be nice about it is the fact that we would do a nice photo shoot of it, a nice video shoot of it, so that we give them advertisement on that product that they're having. So you have the bar and their food and their beer, and then we're going to just show it so everybody can see it, because a lot of people don't know what XYZ has. Right. That they're their best food, their top of the line fries or whatever it is that they're trying to promote, and we're going to promote it for them.
Yeah.
So, and then I actually have a chef that's going to get involved with this as soon as we can get everything lined up. He's from the CIA.
Yeah, right.
But that's a Culinary Institute of America.
Oh, I thought if you'd tell us, you'd have to kill us.
Buddy of mine is the brewer there. They actually have I can't remember if it's a 3 or 5 barrel brew house at CIA.
Yeah.
Guy named Hutch Koogman. I met him up in the Adirondacks when I was doing the New York Breweries book, and we've stayed in touch. Actually, I judge for the New York State Brewers Guild competition every year, which is a whole lot of fun. And Hutch helps run it, and I get to hang out with him every year, so that's fun. But they have a brewery on site, so they can teach the chefs about pairing beer and food, which I think is awesome.
Maybe Shy Bear can do what you want to do.
Oh yeah, maybe, because I actually thought of a twist that would take away the problem of a dinner that nobody likes. Serve the beer that doesn't go with the food, and then 5 minutes later serve a beer that does.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you get both, and you get to see that pairing beer with food isn't actually bullshit, because some beers and food don't work.
Right? Yeah, they do. That's right. With this idea that Dave wanted to do, so Back Porch Brewing in Carlisle was one of our. Yeah. They were a guest of ours before they had their brick and mortar, and I frequent their place when I go to Carlisle because my wife's from Carlisle.
Okay.
And I was there a couple weeks ago, and Tim's like, "Dude, we need to do," I said, "Tim, we got to do another recording." He's like, "Yeah." And he was talking about his food and his they call it a chef, but he's their head cook. I guess he might be a chef. I said, "Okay, I got an idea. We'll come to you. We'll record it. You got your guy put 3 plates together, match up with 3 beers, and let's record it." So we're going to do a food pairing at their place to feature their food with their beer.
Right.
And maybe we can put Lew's twist on it. Tim, give me 3 beers that will not match
Beers
this
don't work.
and then we'll sample with the 3 beers that will match this food.
Yeah.
So we're trying to change up our content here and there to try and get more, viewership or an interest in what we're trying to do.
I've kind of like plateaued, and I don't know what to do.
We could grow it. I just don't have the time to invest in all the social media, because what we put out is what they call long form video, and you have to put short form reels and TikTok stuff out to generate that. I ain't got that kind of time. It takes me forever sometimes to edit just an episode to put out. We love doing what we're doing, even though it's not for profit, and we got some investment in equipment here, but we love meeting the people. We love being part of the community of that, and just seeing it and telling stories. That's what we're here to do, and it's probably how you really got started. The storytelling of what they are.
Yeah,
that's what we're.
Yeah, and I got to say, one of the things I wanted to do was I wasn't really doing local stuff anymore. I was doing like these national, international stories, and eventually I got to the point where I didn't give a shit. I'm doing these stories and I don't even know who the hell's brewing 20 miles away. So, this was a purposeful, thoughtful attempt to get back to that. And I just went, when I picked up this keg at Otto's yesterday, I didn't know anybody in the brewery. Used to be, I walked into any brewery in Pennsylvania and I'd know somebody. That's gone. I can't claim that anymore, and it kind of made me sad,
So, what you used to be like Norm from Cheers, they'd say Lew.
Yeah,
what's going down?
there were times I never make a big deal about it. I don't want to make a big deal about it. There have been times when I've walked into places with a friend. We just sit at the bar, and they're like, things are a little bit slow, or the beer's a little bit off, and my friend will say, "Do you know who this is?" I'm like, "Please shut the fuck up." I don't want that. But there have been times when I've walked in and I'll post on Untapped, say, "I'm drinking this beer. It's okay. It's like this, that, and the other," and like somebody will come over and like, "You're Lew Bryson, aren't you?" Yes,
kind of like I did.
Yeah, right. And I'm always like, "Are you armed?
Oh,
do you have papers to serve?" Like,
Yeah,
it depends.
Number 2.
Right. Who wants to know?
it's like the movie that Bill Murray was in when he says, "Oh, the man who was looking for me, did he have one of these tall hats and a gun on the side?"
Then no, that's not me.
No, it's not me.
So
That's great.
what's next for Lew Bryson? Besides you're working on a current book.
I got to be honest. I think I'm kind of on a glide path at this point. I'm 65. I really like it here. Thanks to my wife's job, we're pretty much financially secure. My kids both have houses and jobs. I'm kind of like doing this for fun and thinking that, I'll be honest with you. I have outlines and first chapters of 3 fiction novels. 3 very different books. And I'd kind of like to try that and maybe self-publish, because my agent is just like, no, I don't do fiction. Okay, sorry. Tried to sell you a cookbook, but you didn't want that either. So, well, I did. I thought I had a great idea for a cookbook. I called it the Whiskey Family Cookbook, and it was going to be home recipes from Jimmy Russell. I had a barbecued chicken recipe from Jimmy Russell. I had a pound cake recipe, like a family pound cake recipe from the people at Independent Stave, the people that make the barrels for most of the bourbon industry. I had what was that? It was a cashew stroganoff recipe from the guy who used to be in charge of public relations for Diageo. You know, these are all people I'd met, and we'd get to talking about food. I'm like, you made what now? And I'd write it down, you know. And I was getting all these, and she's just like, nah. People that drink whiskey don't want to cook, and people that cook aren't really interested in whiskey. And, you know, I thought she was wrong at the time, but she also talked me out of the vodka book. I thought I had this great idea for a vodka book. It's like, people who drink vodka. They don't want to read about it. Come on, they're drinking vodka. Like, oh, well, that's actually a pretty good point. And I went and did some market research, which is what we call looking at Amazon. And there are a lot of really good vodka books by really smart people, and none of them sold worth a damn. So I'm like, why am I going to put 8 months into this? You know, right. It doesn't matter how good an idea is. Who the hell's going to buy it? Nobody.
Hey, Lew.
No?
We've invested 3 years into this, and there ain't nobody.
I feel you. I really do, brother. Yeah.
You know, Brett, but the fact that we had to, we're long videos, and we have to put out shorts, and we have to come up with shorts to put out to get people interested in it. And it just brought up to mind that my son was telling me that he was from the X generation, and he says, I don't know what the new generation is. And I said, it's the new generation is the attention span of a fruit fly generation.
Yeah.
I said,
flip generation, right? Yeah.
Because if it's longer than 15 seconds, they lose interest.
No, they might go a minute.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I do a lot of research on YouTube, like yourself, and I run across these shorts, and I don't see what the interest is in the shorts because they last.
Well, it depends if it's a blonde or a brunette.
Oh, yeah.
I got to say, 60 seconds on a short for me working on some of them sites might be a little bit long.
Well, and the other thing, I mean, I see all these really successful whiskey shows on YouTube, and almost every one of them is two people yelling at each other.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yes.
We had the same thing when we were looking for like beer podcast things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
especially in this area, and it's like you saw it. You saw a couple, and it's like, well, shit, we're putting out a better product and story than they are.
Yeah.
What are we doing wrong? You know,
well, you're not being assholes.
Yeah.
So, we just like telling stories. I mean, we feel privileged because if there's something going on with some of the people that we recorded, hey, do you guys want to come do this and record, or just be there and do this? And you know, maybe time Glenn and stuff from What's Brewing will say, hey, Central PA Pour, you want to come be a part of this show?
Yeah, actually, we're kind of on hiatus right now, trying to find not funding, but it's almost like we need to find the people behind the show to. I don't even know. Glenn was trying to explain it to me. I'm just like, you know what, buddy? When you need to make a show, give me a call. I'll be there.
Yeah. Hey, you could put our name in the hat too.
Yeah.
We're not looking for talent. It's just we need. Can you guys produce? Do you guys want to do the video part?
I'm not saying we're talented.
It's that same loose use of the word talent. I mean, whenever they're describing me as talent, I'm like, okay, all right.
I have beer talent. Let's put it that way.
There you go. You're beer famous.
There you go. You're famous.
Hey,
I like that term.
yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish my kids would write. They'd be really good at it, but then I don't want them to write because I need them to make a living.
Right.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're interested in their points, though.
Yes.
I do have a question, though. This is that it sounds like you have an interest in music.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm a musician. And,
okay.
Yeah, and I'm paired up with a couple guys that aren't. But anyway,
Hey, no, wait. I can play the. I'll never say it. I'll never mind. My wife says I'm very musically talented with beans and beer.
oh, beans and bibs. Oh, musical fruit. Anyway, I just wanted to ask you: did you play in any orchestras, bands, in
I did. I played single reeds. Not in Central PA, Southeastern PA.
Oh, okay, single.
Well, Lancaster. When I was in high school and college. But I actually played saxophone for a swing band, a 17-piece swing band that played for inaugural ball. So that was kind of cool.
I like swing. I like swing bands.
I loved swing. That was my favorite.
Yeah.
But I played in symphonic bands too. I played mostly bass and contrabass clarinet, and I played tenor and baritone sax.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Now, Barry sax is a big ass.
Oh my God! I used to march with the Barry sax in college. Holy crap!
Yeah, I don't know how.
That's a long day. I had a neck like a bull at the end of the year.
I didn't even know that they had that option.
Oh yeah. It's a much bigger strap for marching. But yeah.
That's
and I sang second bass in my church choir for years. Actually got to I sang at the Vatican. It was nice.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yes. Well, not solo, but I did sing solo at the what is it? There's 4 Vatican churches. St. Peter's, of course, the famous one. St. John Lateran, St. Paul's outside the wall, and St. Mary the Mother, I think it's called, and that's where we sang. It was at one of the 4 Vatican churches.
That's cool.
And I sang solo there. I was the cantor. So,
wow, that's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, that was pretty great.
The 3 of us are not worthy.
Good, man. It is exactly like the writing. I got really lucky. And in that case, it was we happened to be living at this. I mean, it was this huge Catholic parish, St. Andrew's in Newtown, Pennsylvania, in Bucks, and the pastor decided he wanted to upgrade the music program, and they hired this guy, David Kimmock, who, I mean, the cathedral choir tried to poach him. I think the Vatican was trying to poach him. Yeah, he's just really good. We got very lucky with him, and we got even more lucky because his wife found a job there, and their kids both really liked the schools there, so he stayed. And I got to sing with him for 14 years. It was the peak of my musical career. The guy was so good. He pulled stuff out of me I didn't know I had. And I still remember that the 3rd year I was cantering. After the service was over, I went back to the back of the church. Mass was over, and I'm in the back of the church. And the head usher, I still remember, his big guy, Don Huff. And Don says, "You sounded good today." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And he said, "You didn't always." Yeah, you're right. And it was because Dave pulled out of me what was there, and I didn't realize I had.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, the right people can really
do
help.
that. Yeah, good teacher will do that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
I wish I can go back to my college days and redo some of the things that I didn't do. I mean,
so many opportunities.
Everybody feels that way, but yeah, there's opportunities out there that you could have grabbed, and because you're only 19 or 20 years old,
Yeah.
You're stupid.
Yep. We all have shoulda, coulda, woulda moments.
Oh man, that was a stupid year.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep.
You know what? That's a good fucking beer name.
Shoulda,
Coulda, woulda. That's a great fucking. And I'm looking for a name for the brown ale I just did.
There you go.
Shoulda,
Oh,
coulda,
there you
woulda.
go. SCW.
You know, Dave, I wouldn't change nothing because I still want that opportunity to go down to your bar someday.
We have to be good friends to get invited.
I know it. I'm still practicing.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to tell you
I got to
guys.
be honest with you. I look around this place and think, yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I love this place.
I had both of your wives in my bar. I don't know. What
You see that?
Wait a minute.
Kevin-
What did he just say? What did you just say?
Exactly what you heard.
He say what I think he said?
Yep.
Hey, we have a better chance of getting invited to lose than we do Dave's.
We do. Son of
Oh my God.
I gotta admit, the last year for New Year's Eve, the ball drop. We went down to the bar area,
You did?
but
That's right. I was in bed.
But he said you got to sit over here. You can't get too close to the fine wood finish.
Oh my
I never
God.
got. Yep. I had a lounge chair.
I got rings on the bar already. It happens.
I've seen him spill drinks before, so you know what can I say?
You know, I just had a big spill this afternoon. I was putting I put this new keg on this morning, and I'm like, you know, I'm having the friends over for the debate tonight. And I'm gonna clean the lines, right? You know, just get everything perfect. So I stripped the tap down, I flushed the line, scrubbed everything, and rinsed it. Excuse me, put it back together. Went back behind the wall to turn the gas on. I'm like,
Oh.
there's a gas leak. Oh no! So I'm like, yeah, well, it wasn't a gas leak. I had left the tap open.
Out.
Oh. The worst thing was I had put the little stopper in it, the little like scrub stopper. So it wasn't just pour it out. It was like all over the. I had all those bottles in the back bar. I had to wipe down every one of them.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing is there's no profit loss there. I mean,
No, that's true. That's true. I mean, that's what I tell people. I'm like, yeah, I don't care if we pour a little heavy. Doesn't matter.
I tell you what, Lou, we've had a fantastic time talking to you. This has been great.
Yeah,
It's good. It's good. I like that. I try to put people at their ease. It's what I
Yeah. And that's kind of what we do. You know, we just like, it's just a conversation. Whatever
That's the
goes,
key to it, man. Right?
just let it flow. Don't be robotic. Just let it
No.
flow. So
Yeah,
tell
I mean,
us-
I got to be honest. I write down all my questions when I do an interview. I have it's not a script, but it's a list of questions.
that's the,
But
what
I
we do. With
try not to. I mean, I try to like have them in my head. So I'm like, did you ever go to a place called? I want
Yeah.
to like have up here so I can just say, so that hole in your resume, the shit happened there, huh? What was that? Because I'll tell you what, that is what. All the times I interviewed for jobs, right? Nobody ever saw. There was a 9-month hole in my resume. Nobody ever said a thing about it. You know, the one person who brought it up was my wife's boss when I started dating her. Okay, I was living in D.C. She was up in Connecticut. We had met in college, and we kind of, you know, got interested in each other. We started dating, and I was down in D.C. I went up to visit her. I went up a day early. I had the day off, and she's like, "Come into work. George wants to meet you." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I go in. Freaking George sits me down in his office and drills me. He's like, "It's 9 months. What the hell's that? What were you doing?"
I was writing
I was
whiskey. books and drinking.
I was delivering flowers for money under the table. I didn't want to put it on there. And I'm like, I told him everything. I was like, oh my God. Mind you, great guy. I mean, we are friends to this day.
That's awesome.
He's still the best boss my wife ever had. You know,
That's awesome.
That's good.
I tell you what, tell us one last time where they can buy your books.
absolutely.
And where they can get your podcast, because we're going to have the links in the description. And,
Amazon. I mean, it's the easiest thing. Go to Amazon. You probably get a better price on them there. And I mean, I I don't get much money, but I don't get much money anywhere, to be honest. So that's okay. I don't care.
Yeah, it's more.
Yeah, great.
Dude,
I get less than $1 on each sale. It's just.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't even know why I'm in this business. I swear to God.
Kevin, what'd you say?
I already downloaded them on the Audibles.
All right, nice. Yep. Hey, I'll tell you what. Doing that Audible, that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot about this stuff.
Right.
It was stuff I could use with this because it was at a long running professional studio down in Philly, and I learned to God for the guy. I picked his brains, and then when it was over, I went out and got really, really drunk because I was really, really exhausted after 2.5 days of that. It is relentless.
Well, I tell you what, when we started this, we were like, I set equipment up in my one spare bedroom. And Dave and I played a couple of weeks in there just figuring out, okay, how do we do the audio? How do we do the recording? What's it going to look like? What's it going to sound like? And I mean, if you go back to our first couple episodes, it looks like shit. We've come a long way.
It's kind of wincy. I was really lucky. Bill and Ed from It's Friday Somewhere podcast. They don't do it regularly. They just do it kind of irregularly out of Harrisburg, and I think Bill lives in Marietta. But, I mean, they showed me how to do it. They answered questions. They let me borrow their equipment. I mean, I've got all the same equipment they do because it worked, and I got really lucky there. That let me jumpstart right away.
Well, we met a couple of people that were other podcasters, too, that kind of helped us along and gave us advice. And
you have to, I think.
We live and learned.
Yeah.
Where can they find Seen Through a Glass podcast?
Well, I mean, the thing up at the top there, seenthroughaglass.podbean.com, but it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on a bunch of places that have gone under, like everybody else. But it's also, I mean, it is on the big, and most of my listeners come from Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to definitely help promote you.
Thank you, appreciate it. And I'll get out the word about you guys as well because I'm gonna promote the shit out of this.
We appreciate that.
One hand washes another, boys.
Thank you,
Dave. Any last comments?
Nah, this has been great. I think it's really cool, and it's nice to talk to someone who's a fellow musician that actually done. When you mentioned marching band, I says, "Oh, okay. Well, everything. I carried a trumpet.
Okay,
no Barry sax.
No. On the other hand, our uniforms at F&M: gray flannels, blue blazer, white turtleneck, straw.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. You take off the boater, and you just look kind of like a nerd, but you're not wearing a uniform.
I think Dave's still in band camp.
Well, the other nice thing was you could put a flask in each pocket in the jacket. The only guys in the stadium with alcohol.
You know who your best friend in the band was? The tuba player.
Oh, that room.
You could hide shit down in there. It's just unreal.
Yep.
Why does your tuba sound like muffled?
It's a mute I put in there. Yeah.
Just in the beginning. Near the end, he was empty.
It gets less so and less so as we go. Oh, God.
Kevin, any last comments?
No, just thank you so much. We truly enjoyed this year.
Good.
Well,
good.
Lou, we appreciate you taking the time to come on here and just have a sit-down conversation with the CPP. And so what we do
something on the train, Brett.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. So what we do is cheers out here with something. So if you got something, are you empty or are you good?
I have some whiskey, and whiskey is appropriate because I do have. It's Booker. Was the distiller at Jim Beam, and Booker and Jimmy were big friends. Booker went into the great beyond before him, but we call this Booker's Toast.
Booker's Toast.
Booker's Toast.
All right. So
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll get ready. You're ready?
We're going to raise a glass with Lew Bryson. Make sure you check out his podcast, Seen Through a Glass, and then his books.
And with Dave, Kevin, and myself and the CPP, we're going to raise a glass with Lew Bryson and Booker's Toast.
I give you Booker's Toast, gentlemen. May there be no hell. And if there is, I'll see you there.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers. And let's all be bonded by beer.